not running from nothing, you feel me?
You killed my sister. You know you did it. Ain't nobody got to lie on you. You killed my sister. Look at you just sitting right there looking guilty as because he's guilty, y'all. Look at his face. Look at his face, y'all. Look how guilty he is.
This a girl I used to mess with, you feel me? Like, so, I don't know what to say about that. I feel like if they people felt like this, they spreading the rumors through the internet. It's crazy how everybody try to bring you down when they really don't even know what's going on.
So the girl who got killed, that wasn't even your baby mama?
Nah. The one from now, like the one that they saying, it could have been a possibility, you feel me?
So that was your current girlfriend?
I ain't got no girlfriend at all. You feel me? Only thing is my wife. That's the only girl, you feel me, that ever, my wife.
The plastic bag split open as she hit the pavement. Milk spilled, fruit rolled toward the curb. Her child didn't move. The shots had stopped, but the sound stayed echoing in the little boy's ears as he watched his mother's body collapse inches from the groceries they'd just picked up. She had finally left him, changed the locks, protected her kids, and somehow it still ended like this. 7 bullets in broad daylight outside her parents' house, while her 8-year-old stood frozen beside the trunk. We've covered dozens of cases involving jealousy, control, and revenge. But this one feels different. Feels like a warning we all keep ignoring. Because she did everything right, and still died in front of her child. So ask yourself, would you have seen it coming? Now here's the part no one talks about. She wasn't the first woman he's accused of killing. She didn't die in silence, but she lived in it longer than most people knew. Before the headlines, before the chaos, Raesha Heard was trying to reclaim her life. 31, mother of 2 and 2 months pregnant. Her world revolved around her boys, school pickups, bedtime routines, neighborhood cookouts. She was the kind of mom who knew the names of every kid on the block and remembered their birthdays. Friends called her the light in every room. Her laugh made people look up from their phones. And she wasn't just raising her own, she stepped up for her siblings, her cousins, even her community. The same hands that packed her son's lunchboxes held broken family members together after another relative was shot the year before. But inside her home, something darker was growing. Justin Lewis, stage name Mad Music Cali, wasn't new. He was her longtime boyfriend and the father of her children. They'd been together for years, and for just as long he'd been tearing her down behind closed doors. Jealousy, control, rage disguised as passion. Her family had seen it all, and still Raesha held on, tried to fix it, tried to wait it out, until she couldn't sit. In the months before her death, Raesha made the hardest decision of her life. She ended the relationship, moved on, focused on protecting her kids and the child she had just learned she was carrying. She didn't broadcast it, she just quietly shifted towards safety. But safety isn't always safe when control has been lost. That's when the first sign came. A warning louder than words, but somehow still ignored. He allegedly opened fire on her car during an argument. It wasn't some distant threat, it was direct, up close. According to Raesha's loved ones, the only reason she survived was because the gun's clip fell out, misfire, fluke, pure luck. And she didn't dare to report it. No 911 call, no police statement, just shock, fear, and silence. Her family would later say she didn't want to stir things up, didn't want to escalate a bad situation into something worse. But in hindsight, that moment changed everything. That moment was a missed chance to stop what was coming. Because that wasn't set an argument. It was a warning shot. What Raesha couldn't know was how little time she had left. The man she had left, the one she was trying to avoid, hadn't let go. Not emotionally, not physically, and certainly not mentally. He had lost control. And for people like Justin Lewis, losing control isn't a feeling, it's a threat, a motive, a trigger. On the day everything shattered, Raesha had spent the afternoon like any other, running errands with her youngest son. She was back at her parents' house. Familiar, comfortable, home. It wasn't supposed to be the place where everything ended. But her ex was watching, maybe not from the street, but close enough to know her schedule, close enough to wait. And if you're picturing some heated confrontation, stop. That thicken's not what happened. There was no argument, no screaming, no warning. Just action. And in a few seconds it was over. We once describe it again here. You already know what unfolded in that driveway. What matters now is this. She did everything we ask survivors to do. She left. She tried to build a life without fear. And he still found a way to end it. So before we continue, pause this video, check your front door. Now ask yourself, would you recognize danger if it was standing 5 feet away, smiling? If you're watching this and haven't hit like, share, and subscribe to True Crime Case Tapes, ask yourself why. And actually, tell us why in the comments. We read every single one. They knew who did it. Within minutes of the shooting, Raesha's family said his name out loud. Justin Lewis. They didn't have to guess. They had lived with the tension for years. The fear, the bruises Raesha tried to cover. The way her voice dropped every time he walked into the room. Now she was gone, and he was gone too. He didn't stick around, didn't answer calls, didn't show up at the hospital. He vanished. But not into hiding. Not really. A few days after the murder, Lewis opened Instagram Live. His face filled the screen, calm, casual, no remorse. He told his viewers people were trying to bring him down, that folks were spreading lies. And then, as if to twist the knife, he liked a Facebook status calling him out for Raesha's murder. He saw their grief and hit like. It wasn't just heartless, it was tactical. It sent a message to Raesha's family. I'm watching you, and I'm not scared. It also gave police a new trail. Digital footprints, timestamps, geotags. The arrogance was helping them track him. But every hour he wasn't caught, her family stayed in lockdown. Her sons couldn't say tea. Her sister said, we didn't say tea, not while he was still out there. That fear lasted 8 days. 8 long days before police tracked Lewis down in Forest Park, Georgia, about 20 miles from the scene. He was arrested without a fight. And for a moment the terror lifted. Raesha's sister said, we all slept well that night. But the arrest was just the beginning, because what came next rewrote everything. This wasn't the first time someone had pointed to Justin Lewis after a woman's death. 6 years earlier, May 2017, New Orleans. A 25-year-old woman named Sidni Dalcour was found shot to death in her still-running car. Same setup, no robbery, no suspects, no arrests, and one name immediately surfaced from the family. Justin Lewis. He wasn't a stranger, he was Sidni's husband. They had been married 5 years, and according to her family, those 5 years were brutal. Sidni's sister said he fought her a lot. She ended up hospitalized, needed staples in her head. Black eyes, bruises, threats, promises, cycles. She stayed, like Raesha, hoping he set change. And then she was gone. No charges were ever filed, no arrest. Sidni's case went cold. But now with Raesha dead, her family was saying what Sidni Sepp's family had said 6 years earlier. We knew it was him. 2 women, same man, same pattern, same silence afterward. Except this time, Lewis hadn't disappeared from view. He was live streaming, clicking likes, acting like this was just drama. The arrogance wasn't set new, it was recycled. Because in both cases he walked away thinking no one could touch him. And maybe that's set yours because the system never did. Let's look at the pattern, and you tell us when it should have stopped. Stage 1, charisma. He's the guy who's always charming in public. Fun at parties, brags about being a provider. His rap persona made him seem larger than life. Stage 2, isolation. Friends stop seeing her as often. She explains away bruises, says he didn't mean it, and smiles like she believes it. Stage 3, escalation. The fights turn physical, then dangerous. In Sidni's case, hospital visits. In Raesha's, gunfire. Stage 4, control slips. She leaves. That's when he becomes lethal. Sound familiar? If you think you'd see it sooner, maybe. But patterns only matter when someone connects the dots. That didn't happen in 2017. And Raesha paid the price in 2023. The evidence was stacking fast. Shell casings were collected at the crime scene. Witnesses named Lewis within minutes, including Raesha's own child. Surveillance footage may have caught the vehicle fleeing. Digital evidence. His online activity showed consciousness of guilt. Previous threats. Multiple family members could testify to violent outbursts and previous beatings. And then there was the motive. Raesha was pregnant. Reports indicate Lewis didn't want the baby, allegedly told her to terminate the pregnancy. She refused. Combine that with jealousy, loss of control, and a failed prior shooting attempt. You don't need a profiler to spell this out. What makes this case unforgettable isn't just what happened, it's what didn't. The missed arrest in 2017, the unreported gunfire months before her murder, the social media rants that stayed live for hours. Every one of those moments was a chance to stop him. But Lewis wasn't set hiding, he was broadcasting. And no one stopped him until it was too late. Again, if this story is getting to you, that's good. But don't just sit with it. Hit like. Share this video, and if you're not subscribed to True Crime Case Tapes, ask yourself why. Because somewhere right now, another woman is trying to leave, and if someone had shared Raesha's story sooner, maybe she'd still be here. That sip's the part that cuts deepest. She got out, she tried to live, and still ended up as proof of how deadly these patterns really are. And for the second time in his life, Justin Lewis left a woman dead and tried to talk his way out of it online. Power doesn't always look violent. Sometimes it just looks like control. Control of a phone, a bank account, a pregnancy decision, a front door. And when that control is threatened, when it slips away, some people react with force, not out of passion, but out of possession. That's what this case reveals. Not just a man who snapped, a man who watched his grip loosen and chose to strike. By the time Justin Lewis lost access to Raesha's life, she was pregnant. She had already left. She was back with family, rebuilding. That's when the danger skyrocketed. Experts in domestic abuse say the risk of lethal violence increases by 75% when a survivor leaves their abuser. Let that sit. Leaving isn't the end of the danger, it's often the trigger. And that scepter is what played out in October of 2023. Raesha's pregnancy wasn't just a coincidence. According to reports, Lewis pressured her to end it. When she refused, that became a new fracture in their already broken connection. He couldn't dictate her body anymore. He couldn't dictate the household. His last form of control was fear. Psychologists call this coercive control, a pattern of behavior designed to dominate another person. It doesn't start with fists. It starts with rules. Who she can talk to, what she can post, where she can go. And if she breaks those rules, the consequences escalate. By the time Raesha's family saw the signs, Lewis had allegedly fired a gun at her during an argument, an act she didn't report. Why not? Because like many survivors, she likely feared the response more than the silence. Reporting meant confrontation, escalation, retaliation. And when you're raising kids, sleeping at your parents' house, trying to stay ahead of fear, silence can feel safer. But silence doesn't stop escalation, it just delays it. That earlier shooting attempt, where the clip reportedly fell out, that wasn't an accident. It was intent blocked by mechanical failure. And that's something prosecutors will use to prove premeditation, the foundation of the malice murder charge now hanging over Lewis. Because if someone tries to kill you once and fails, and then succeeds later, it's not rage. It sets a plan. The case isn't built on emotion alone. The forensic side is just as damning. Shell casings match the caliber consistent with Lewis's prior known possession. No signs of robbery or struggle, indicating a targeted hit, not a spontaneous act. Digital evidence, Lewis went live on social media after the murder. The tone, deflective, defensive, mocking. Post-crime behavior, liking a wanted post about himself. Not just arrogant, but legally relevant. Prosecutors will argue it shows a consciousness of guilt. That's a legal term used to describe behavior that implies someone knew they were guilty and acted accordingly. Running, lying, or in Lewis's case, taunting the victim's family online. You don't do that unless you're trying to control the narrative. Even in death, he tried to control her story. What the court may never hear, but what investigators know, is that this wasn't his first time. Sidni Dalcour's case may not be introduced formally at trial, but if allowed, prosecutors could argue it shows a pattern: 2 intimate partners dead, both women tried to leave, both ended up shot. That's not coincidence. That's a behavioral signature. And if the jury doesn't set here about Sidni, it won't set B because it doesn't set matter. It's set B because the law has rules. But even within those rules, a clear picture is forming. Justin Lewis didn't lose control. He exerted it. He waited. He chose the location. He targeted her when she was vulnerable, outside, arms full, child present. He escaped immediately. And when he could have laid low, he logged on. This wasn't chaos. It was calculation masked as chaos. So how does this happen again? How does someone go from boyfriend to father to fugitive, and no one connects the dots until it's too late? Part of it is systemic. Domestic violence isn't always prioritized, especially when it's verbal, or just a threat, or when it's in a relationship with a public face. Part of it is social. Survivors are often told to leave, and then blamed when leaving doesn't save them. Part of it is personal. Many of us believe we'd spot the warning signs, but would we? Would we recognize the charming guy who always shows up late but never lets her speak? Would we notice the subtle insults disguised as jokes? Would we intervene after the first blackout, or wait until there's a bullet? The courtroom will try to answer only one question: was it murder? But the rest of us have more to answer for. Why didn't anyone connect this to Sidni? Why didn't the gunfire months earlier result in an arrest? Why did it take death, again, to stop this man? These aren't just prosecutorial questions, they're societal ones. Because Raesha's story wasn't just personal, it was predictive. And it happened anyway. There's one more thing the jury may never hear. Sidni's case, it sits still open, unsolved, uncharged, untouched. Which means Lewis may be on trial for one murder, but has walked free from another for nearly a decade. That silence, that absence of justice, is part of this story too. And if you think that doesn't matter, you're already missing the point. After his capture in Forest Park, Justin Lewis was taken into custody without incident. That part was easy. The next part was in Sid. He was booked into the DeKalb County Jail and denied bond. Prosecutors made their position clear. This was a premeditated domestic execution, and Lewis posed a threat to the public and to the family he'd already torn apart. The charges came fast and without hesitation. Malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 3 counts of aggravated assault, cruelty to children in the first degree, possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Each charge told its own piece of the story. Felony murder meant Raesha died during a violent felony. The cruelty charge reflected what her 8-year-old son endured, seeing his mother collapse, unable to help. The gun possession counts confirmed Lewis's criminal history and made clear he should never have had a weapon in the first place. The state's message was unambiguous. They weren't just pursuing punishment, they were trying to make sure he never walked free again. But legal filings don't just heal the living. Raesha's sons were left without a mother. One of them watched her die, the other is still trying to understand why. Her family now raises them both. Her sister stepped in. Her parents took on the day-to-day. The boys go to school, they eat dinner, they play video games, and every so often they ask about the woman who used to tuck them in. Raesha's name is spoken every day in that house. And outside it, people responded. A GoFundMe campaign was launched within days of her death, not just to help with funeral costs, but to support counseling, housing, and long-term care for her sons. Donations poured in. Hundreds of messages followed, not just from Georgia, from across the country. Candlelight vigils were held. Her classmates gathered to remember her. Balloons were released into the sky, each one carrying the name of a woman people swore they wouldn't forget. But memory isn't justice, and it doesn't fix what was missed. Had Lewis been arrested years earlier, Raesha might still be here. Had the first shooting been reported, there might have been a restraining order, or a warning, or jail time. Instead, the system failed her twice. Once by ignoring a dead woman in New Orleans, then again by overlooking a near miss in Georgia. Those failures weren't just unfortunate, they were fatal. Raesha's story is now part of a growing conversation, not just about domestic violence, but about how often victims are left unprotected even after they leave. Shelters need funding, laws need enforcing, cold cases need revisiting. Raesha did everything right, and still ended up in a body bag. If this case got under your skin, but you're still not subscribed to True Crime Case Tapes, we need to know why. Seriously, scroll down and tell us in the comments. Because next week's story, the killer didn't just stalk his victim, he made her live stream her own fear. Like, share, subscribe, and help us make sure these stories don't disappear. The fruit is long gone, the blood washed away, but the concrete still holds memory. Every time her family pulls into that driveway, they pass the place where her body fell. And sometimes her youngest son lingers near the spot like he's trying to remember her voice before the sirens came. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was possession carried out with precision. And if you think that kind of man is rare, ask yourself, how many women do you know who've stopped talking about their partner? How many seem quieter lately? You soul tell yourself, you said it'd see it, you said it'd hear it. But Raesha's story proves something terrifying. Sometimes the warning signs sound just like normal life until they don't. And the most dangerous person in someone's world is already inside their house. Sweet dreams.